Hello and welcome to Issues and Insight, the show that keeps you up to date on all the great things going on in our community. I'm your host, Kendra Stewart-Scott, and we are thrilled to see you today. It is getting warm out there. Spring and summer is here, as you can tell by the warm temps, by the pollen. School's almost out of session, so we're getting into everybody's favorite season of the year. But with that season comes a lot of awareness and things we need to take into consideration as we start planning for fun and good times with family and friends. So here to talk with us and keep us straight and tell all the good news and give us the helpful hints that we need is Mr. Tommy Crane, Deputy Fire Marshal with the Radcliff Fire Department, and nice to see you.
Nice to see you again.
It's been a while.
It has, definitely.
Yep. Welcome back. We tend to do this every spring or fall.
Right.
We get together, you and I, and you tell us all the things that we need to know because as we know, it's a fun season, but disaster can strike very, very quickly if people are maybe careless or just not paying attention, or we just get too excited. And so there's lots of things that we need to remember to be safe so that we can keep our friends, our families, our pets, our loved ones, our community overall safe. So
absolutely.
What do you want to talk about today?
Well, like you were saying, with it being warm and everybody wants to get outdoors and do things. There's just, lots of activities that people do. Some of those are family activities, some of them are individual activities. One of the ones that we always like to remind people of is grilling. Everybody likes to grill out, and some people are year-round grillers.
True.
So they're die-hard about it.
They are.
But things we want to remind people, number one is if you live in an apartment building, you cannot, if you live on the second or third floor, you cannot have a grill, stored on your balcony or use a grill either way.
Really? And you see people do that a lot.
Right. And the reason, when you think about it, the reason for that is if something happens to that grill, you're looking at, displacing or causing damage to a building that houses, multiple families.
True.
It's not just your family that you're affecting. There's 4 or more families that you're affecting. So, the thing to remember, whether it's a charcoal or a gas grill, you cannot have it on those upper levels.
Okay.
Now, if you do, live on a first floor and you're able to pull the grill away, you can do that. But there again, we remind you, and this goes for whether you have a private residence, is pull the grill away about 10 feet away from the house or the structure or any kind of overhangs. So like if you're in an apartment, you've got a balcony above you, or a deck above you, pull it out from under that as well.
Sure.
Because people don't think a lot about the radiant heat, things like that, or the open flame either way that can cause damage. If you have the grill too close to a house that has vinyl siding, you can melt the siding.
Yes.
And that can continue to radiate into the house, into the walls. So those are things to remember. When you're grilling, before you start to grill, you fire up the grill, whether it be charcoal or gas, just do some make sure you've done some basic maintenance, kind of, check it out. If it's gas, make sure that, all the connections are good, the hose isn't leaking. Make sure that, if it's charcoal, that you've cleaned it out good. Another thing is either type of grill, make sure you clean the grease out regularly.
Sure.
Because once, that grease builds up, you close the lid and all that stuff kind of just stays in there and just, builds up on the lid and other places inside the grill. So you can actually have, you risk having a flash fire from all that built up grease.
Oh, wow.
So similar to like in a restaurant, there's systems that try to protect, from a restaurant fire, cooking fire. So similar, just make sure you're cleaning it well.
Sure.
Make sure that while you're grilling, keep your kids and your pets away. We tell people a 3-foot safety zone. And then when you're done grilling, remember that grill, that metal's going to be hot for a long time. Hot. So keep the kids and the pets away. Just trip hazard and if so it doesn't get knocked over, things like that. When you're grilling, when with your charcoal, make sure that you only use lighter fluid and charcoal and approved things for that. And make sure that when you let those coals cool, and you dispose of them in a metal container, and then don't put them in a trash can while they're still hot, things like that. So those are some things to remember on grilling. Just don't use it, like I said, in your garage or anything like that. So
yeah, because you see people like, well, it's raining out, but I can still grill.
Right.
Keep it under my covered porch or in the garage.
Right.
And probably not a good idea.
No, not a good idea. So definitely keep it away from your structure. You know, you don't want, and of course, stakes and stuff are expensive right now. So you don't,
True.
but you still don't want to have an added expense of recovering from a fire. So,
True.
so that's something to remember there. Next, we're talking about, with holidays and everything, people love fireworks.
Oh my goodness, Memorial Day's coming,
right?
but
Yep,
right, and they're already on the shelves. I've seen them in the stores.
Yes,
and I think people stockpile and they just buy and use them all year round. So I know there's got to be lots of safety risks, obviously, but there's got some. There has to be some rules as well, right? For
correct.
fireworks.
Of course, we recommend going to see public displays that are
Yes.
handled by a professional and things like that. But we also know that people are going to purchase them on their own, and and I do it too. But there are some rules and regulations. Some of those are state, and some of them are local ordinances. We're talking about local ordinances. We're talking the main thing with the local ordinance is typically the time frame that you can do it. Radcliff has an ordinance, that you can only fire them, like the weekend before, the weekend after, that kind of thing. And there's certain times of the day where you can, or the evening that you can do it. So, out of respect to your neighbors, and things like that. But some other things to remember is that, the state law is you're using fireworks have to be at least 200 feet from a structure or a wooded area or anything like that. So, because, especially if it's a dry season or something like that you have to watch out for. Another thing is, don't let kids do the firework lighting. Grown-ups only. Think about that. Another thing is with the updated state fire safety. What's the word I'm looking for? Law. I guess is when we updated our fire codes this year, the little lanterns that float and have you see, I think it was Mulan or something like that, where they had the real pretty.
And they actually do festivals around those with the lanterns.
Well,
they're beautiful.
Those are now not allowed to be used in Kentucky. So,
oh wow.
So yeah,
good to know. A lot of people.
So they shouldn't be selling them. So we'll make sure that they're not on the shelves. But just for that, they're not. Because there is a big safety concern. You're letting a candle float around and land wherever. So they are cool. I have to admit,
many a wedding reception.
They are pretty cool, but that is something to consider now that those floating lanterns are not allowed to be used anymore. So that's a serious safety concern.
I believe it.
Like you said, once it leaves, you don't know where it's going to land, depending on the breeze, how dry is it outside, things like that. So make sure that you're keeping an eye on that. Like we said, watch, make sure that the kids aren't around and they're at a safe distance away.
Yes, they are just for watching, not to be enjoying or participating in lighting and all that good stuff. And picking up, sometimes I know kids will go out and just pick up the remaining little pieces or the sparks or whatever. Please don't do that.
Yeah, make sure that, and keep, we tell people keep like a bucket of water handy, maybe a small fire extinguisher, just so if something, does happen, that you're there. Definitely make sure that, there is no, there are no alerts on, on the, if it's too dry or anything like that, or if it's real windy, think about that, once it goes, if it's one that goes up in the air, you don't really have control where it's going. So that's something to consider there.
Yes, and I'm sure you all get calls every year to help extinguish fires.
We do that.
Started by fireworks.
We have some instances have been where like bottle rockets have landed in the neighbor's gutters.
Oh gosh.
So if the neighbor's gutters have some nice dry leaves in them, that's not a good thing. And so the neighbors will appreciate you obeying the rules on that too. So those are some things to consider on that. One other note on we're talking about kids and fireworks, and of course, when I was growing up, you got sparklers. You ran around, barefoot. Of course, yeah. But we think about that, and we don't really think about. But the end of a sparkler tip is about 1,200 degrees.
Oh my gosh!
So you don't really think about that. But to put it in perspective, glass melts at 900 degrees. Oh my gosh! So we put those in, and we did it, and we didn't think
run
much
around,
about
do circles, and write your name, and hope one of those doesn't go in your eye or something. Oh my goodness!
But a little further investigation into that, that's not a good idea. So
my goodness. Okay, stick to those little things. Remember those little poppets, like you'd hit the ground and they'd snap.
The little snap pops.
Yeah, maybe that's a better choice.
Right. So moving on, we were talking about going back to talking about children. A big thing for us is making sure that we take care of children and not leave them in the hot cars.
Exactly. Yeah, school's out, and I know sometimes you think, oh, I'm just going to run in the store or whatever and run out. I can leave the kids in the car, but how fast does it get too hot in a vehicle for a child?
Well, the car temperature can rise about 19 to 20 degrees in about 10 minutes.
Oh my gosh, that's nothing.
So that's not much at all.
No time at all.
So on a sunny 60-degree day, and of course, living here in Kentucky, humidity makes it feel much worse than it actually is. A car can be about 110 degrees inside the car.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
So a big difference there in the temperatures. So think about that. Cracking the windows doesn't allow enough, circulation. Especially if it's a day where there's not a breeze. It's still just beating down on the car. So think about that. If you're a passerby and you notice the child's unattended, try to get the child's attention. Try to communicate with the child. Call 911. Make sure and check. And if the child looks like the child is already in distress and already getting to that point where try to get that child out of the car. There are laws that protect you if it's a sincere Good Samaritan effort. But now that being said, always, we talked about before the show, always make sure you check before you just, don't go breaking windows and stuff like that.
Don't throw a brick through the window.
Right. So always make sure, because there are times where, maybe an older sibling is there, in the car. Maybe they're laying back in the seat listening to music or something.
Sure.
So just make sure that you've done a full check and make sure there are no adults around, and there is a sincere concern, and then take that action. But of course, like I said, call 911 first and get somebody on the way.
Yes.
But those are things for someone who is transporting a child, that maybe they don't transport the child all the time. Maybe it's dad's day to take the child to the daycare, and he's running late or something. Put your briefcase or your lunchbox in the back seat with the child.
Yes.
So that way you have to open that door, when you get to work, and you can double check. Some people recommend putting like a stuffed animal in the car seat, and then when you put the child in that seat, put the stuffed animal up front with you. Set an alert on your phone. There are apps that they've been working on that will alert you. There are actually safety devices that they're trying to integrate into the cars and into the seats that will alert if there's a child there.
Okay.
I'm not sure on the progress of that, but I know it's been in the works. Trying to use technology.
Sure.
Have somebody call you. Have your spouse text you when you should be getting to work. Say, hey, how's baby Bob? So I don't know. Just and something to remind you that because didn't really hear much about it years ago, but in the past 15, 20 years, it's become a thing that seems to be a bigger issue. So, but definitely check on that and make sure that you're not leaving the children in the cars. So.
Certainly, and I would tack on that your pets as well.
Yes,
because a lot of us like to travel with our pets, and I see them at, I can pull up at a grocery store and there's a dog yipping or barking or whatever, and I'm looking around like, where's your mom and dad? What are you doing?
and obviously they're not going to be able to talk to you as well. Just like the child's not going to be able to communicate very well. But that is, pets are a concern as well. So definitely take care of your pets.
Good deal. And of course, we know it's Memorial Day. Everyone will be opening up their pools because it is hot. We're all ready for some nice cool water. So let's talk a little bit about pool safety and what folks need to keep in mind.
Right. So with pools, just watch kids when they're in or around water without being distracted. So if you're out there, try to avoid the temptation of playing on your phone and with older kids, not too big a deal, but the little kids, you got to keep an eye on them. Especially if you have a pool that has varying depths. They might be in the shallow end and they just kind of wander and then just kind of slide into the deep end. So you want to make sure that you're keeping an eye on that. Keep them within arm's reach of an adult. So preferably if they're in the water, you try to stay close to that water.
Yes.
Don't get over in the chair and stretch out and
take
not
a nap.
really take a nap. So try to stay there close. If it's older children who they're used to the water, and even if they can swim well, make sure they've got a buddy with them. Make sure there's other people with them. Make sure that there's somebody out there with them that if something happens, they can get help and things like that. if you're, if it's a smaller child and they're wearing a life vest or a life jacket, especially like if they're at a lake or anything, make sure the life jacket is fits well. It's not too loose so it doesn't
they don't just
ride
slide
up.
out of it.
Right. So that's something important to remember. Whether my family, we like to kayak, so it's important to make sure you've got those life jackets available and that you can use them, and that they fit well. That they're that's important as well. Take precautions to keep children safe. Fences or some kind of barrier around the pool.
Oh, sure.
So that they don't, when it's not swimming time, they don't decide, hey, they want to go swimming and they go out there and play in the water. So we don't want that to be something that happens. If it's a small kid pool, like one that you may be able to put on like on your patio or something, empty it when it's not in use.
Yes,
So that way, because it doesn't take a lot of water for a small child to drown. Take ladders out of the larger temporary pools, so you can, that's another safety device. You can take that ladder out. Most of those are removable, so you can remove them, and that way it keeps the child from being able to climb in. And,
yes, that temptation's not there.
So there's some things to remember about that. Because you don't always, there's not always that visible sign that the child is drowning, because what we see in the movies where they bob up and down, that's not always the case. They're a lot of times they're trying to swim, but they can't yell because all that focus is trying to stay above water.
Sure.
So those are some things to remember as well.
Okay, yeah, and it is true, because we kind of get distracted, or we think, they've got their little water wings on, but literally drowning is the number one killer of small children in this nation. So.
Right. So yeah, and it's like I said, the big thing is just that observant, being observant, making sure, because like I said, they're not going to be splashing, and they're not going to be there's not going to be all that movement and yelling that you see in the movies.
Sure. They might just go under and.
Right. You'll see because they're in panic mode and they're trying to stay so they're a lot of times they're just trying to stay afloat, and so.
Yeah. Golly. Okay, so we've got to be very careful. And that goes for if you're at a community pool, a public water park, your own home pool, your neighbor's pool, whatever.
Right, or out on a lake or in a river, whatever it is, just remember, those are things to remember.
Any body of water. Yeah, get your kids swimming lessons. I will give that plug too.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So, and I guess just to kind of finish up, talking about the heat and everything is, we like to get out in our yards. I like to work in the yard.
Me do too.
I'm not much on the heat, so that's it's one of those things. I like my air conditioning, and I like the cooler months. But when you're outside and it's getting warm, especially in good old humid Kentucky, we want to make sure that one thing is stay hydrated, and take those breaks that you need. Don't overexert yourself, and just know some of the signs of heat stroke versus heat exhaustion.
Okay.
Heat exhaustion, you're going to have the heavy sweating. You're going to have the cool, pale, clammy skin.
Okay.
You'll have a fast but weak pulse. You might even have some nausea, start throwing up, muscle cramps, things like that.
Oh, wow.
Tiredness, weakness, a headache. May even faint, pass out. So when you're getting to that point, the heavy sweating, the muscles are starting to cramp.
Yeah.
You need to stop at that point and don't. And then heat stroke is when it could be deadly. And so at that point, heat stroke is when your body temperature reaches about 103.
Oh wow.
So the skin is hot, red, dry, or even a little damp. The pulse is fast and strong. You'll have the headache, dizziness, nausea, and confusion, and then the loss of consciousness as well. So, so both of those are very dangerous. The heat exhaustion is that point where you've really gone too far already, but you still have a little bit of, hey, I need to stop and take a break. With the heat stroke is a lot of times the dangerous level where there is that possibility of someone passing away, or dying. So those are things to remember. Try to make sure like I said, stay hydrated. Take those breaks when you need them. Don't whatever you're doing in the yard is not so important that okay, so you got to get the yard mowed because it's going to rain tomorrow, or something like that. But still just use that. Just think about it's not worth finishing the yard
and collapsing.
Yeah, collapsing. So those are some things to remember. So just remember that as well with the heat and everything.
Oh,
so.
sure. And probably not to do, they always say don't do things between the highest and hottest part of the day, like that little 12 to 3 window type of thing.
Mine's like 12 to like 9, so I don't know.
9 p.m. you're the guy out mowing your grass. I know. I've been that person too.
Yeah.
Well, and what should people do if they're feeling those symptoms? I mean, do you go to the emergency room? Should you just lie down? Should you put on ice packs? I mean, Pete, there's lots of myths out there about how to treat yourself.
As far as the main thing is just get some rest and just sit down and kind of cool off, and get some fluids in you, things like that. That's the big thing. If the heat stroke, the best thing is go ahead and call 911. Because your body, if you're at 103 temperature, your body is already maxed out. So,
oh my gosh, yeah.
So I mean, you're at fever temperature. So you need to, you need to get out of the sun, get that help. Unfortunately, heat stroke is the point where you're already, somebody should already be calling for you.
Yes.
But the heat exhaustion is where you can take that time and go get some rest. If you do feel that you're at a significant point, then go get some help. But definitely don't. Just definitely go get that help if you think you need it. We're there to help. EMS is there to help. So we'd rather be proactive but definitely take care of yourself, stay hydrated and things like that. So that's a big thing.
Part. Stay hydrated inside and out, and wear your sunscreen.
Right.
Let me throw that. Especially you're very fair, so I hope that you sunscreen up when you're out in the yard.
Yeah, I try to, or I definitely wear a hat nowadays.
So you got to wear a hat.
So that's definitely something there. But just when it's the summertime, we want people to be safe, have fun, just whatever they're doing. Swimming, grilling, if they're doing fireworks, whatever it is, just remember that safety and just remember you're doing the yard work. Make sure that you take breaks and stay hydrated and don't overexert yourself. So that those are just things you remember as you go throughout your summer.
Sure. And check on your kids too, because a lot of times kids, especially when we were growing up, you're outside running and playing all day long. I know kids now are probably inside more playing video games, but I mean, you would just go out, and run and play all day long, and sometimes get a drink out of the water hose kind of thing.
Right. The water hose. Yep. And we made it, so I guess we're okay.
I guess we're okay. But if your kids are out, make sure you check on them. Make sure they take breaks, stay hydrated, get a popsicle. Or whatever. So, and I know it is warm, but sometimes we have the cool nights, and lots of folks like to still use their fire pits. So, give us any tips for fire pit safety.
Well, as far as fire pits, or anything like that, campfires, people are going to camp.
Got to camp.
Just make sure, there again, make sure you know what your local regulations are, especially if you're going to a campground. They'll have rules on what you can and can't do with the burning. Make sure you're watching for if it is a dry season, if there's any kind of alerts on the dryness. I always tell people watch the wind conditions, because if it's real windy, a fire can get away from you pretty quick, even if it is in a pretty well contained area. But as far as burn pits, we tell people 15, 20 feet away from your any structures, your house or anything. I prefer, like we have one at home that has it's one that we bought. It's a metal one, but it's got a mesh cover over it, so it helps if there's any sparks or anything.
True.
So that's a good thing to have. Make sure that if you can keep a water hose or something like that handy. So if it does get a little, and don't leave it burning when you get ready to, if you're going in for the night, don't leave it burning. Go ahead and put it out so that there's no concerns if the wind kicks up or anything like that. Any embers getting out of the way. We tell people, don't burn anything other than just clean, good clean cut wood. Don't burn any brush or anything like that in there, or
throw newspaper or garbage or whatever. I see people do that.
No garbage. No garbage. Don't use gasoline to help light it. Things like that. So. But just do some kindling. You could use like a small piece of paper to help light to get that fire going. I tell you, dryer lint. Dryer lint's an excellent way to help start a fire.
That's a great tip.
So that's really good. Plus, it means you clean out your dryer, which is another thing that we like people to do.
Yes, that's another fire hazard.
So you kind of you're doing both there. Yeah, there you go.
I like it. Okay.
So but yeah, with the burn pits, and campfires. just make sure you keep kids away from them. Make sure that the kids are at a safe distance, or if they are close, roasting marshmallows or making s'mores, make sure you're right there with them.
Yes.
So that they don't get into the campfire or anything. So that's I did meet a young man one time that they were out camping and he'd run around the fire and stumbled and fallen into it, burned his arm pretty bad. So a hard lesson learned, but yeah, just remember that keep that space away from your campfire and everything as well, and like I said, just make sure once again check with the local ordinance, which most all of them allow what we call recreational burning, so that you can do that kind of stuff. But it is recreational, so make sure that you're not, like I said, you're not using it to dispose of garbage and stuff as well.
Sure, and not doing the big bonfire.
Right. If we get called and and you're just out there sitting around the campfire enjoying the evening with your family, that's cool. But if we get called and and it's a roaring bonfire and you can't even get close to it, then it's probably not a recreational fire. So
true.
So
party's over.
The party's over. Yeah. But yeah, absolutely enjoy that time with your family. Just be safe about it. And be courteous to your neighbors. And that's a big thing. Is we don't want it to end in either a tragedy or even just a minor mishap can still mess it up. So
sure, yeah, any type of loss is too great. Awesome. Well, all good stuff. Thank you so much. I think that is the message and the theme is just be safe, be cautious, put safety first, and then your fun will follow, and you'll have a great time and not be concerned. So that's the key, is always be thoughtful, do your research, find out about your local ordinances, what the laws are, what you can and cannot do, and just think about the safety of your loved ones and how quickly things can turn. So if you put safety first, then you should be good to go.
Right.
All
Absolutely.
Right. Well, we are pumped up and ready for summer for sure, and I think Mother Nature is too, because it's here.
Oh yes, definitely.
We've skipped spring. It's full-blown summer here. So thank you, Tommy. As always, we appreciate all the great tips and information. I'm going to try the dryer lint in the fire pit next time. It's a great tip.
It's pretty handy.
It is very handy. So he is always a wealth of information. Thank you so much for tuning in to this edition of Issues and Insights. Hope you gained a lot of great information. We pray that you have a safe, healthy, and happy summer. Stay cool, enjoy yourselves, and we will see you next time. I'm Kendra Scott on behalf of HCEC-TV, easy for me to say. Hope you have a great day. We'll see you next time.